car has been at the shop for, I want to say, the last 6 months. It has been sitting here waiting for a quarter panel, but it wasn't just the quarter panel. It was actually the interior structure that had also been damaged. I'm going to show you exactly what we're talking about right now.
Alright guys, so this car has been sitting here, like Oscar said, like over 6 months, and we've been waiting for the quarter panel to come from Australia. I had a lot of fun ordering this part, a lot of back and forth, and finally a company that was gonna get me the part, back and forth payments, but we nonetheless, that's behind us. We got it here. Oscar already pretty much took off a lot of the interior structure of this car, and you can see like the inner structure of the car, now that the seats are off, is all buckled in. You can see how far it's in because you can see it come all the way inside from this inner structure. I feel like Japanese cars and their approval for like collision is not the same regiment that the US cars are, as far as like DOT and all that. So you can see that there's not a lot of bracing inside these quarter panels. Maybe that had to do, plus it probably didn't help that it was rusted really bad. So luckily we have pretty much a cut from here all the way back, kind of goes through the top of the pillar all the way down to the floor, which I have over there. So I'm gonna go ahead and unbag that to show you guys the part that we have that we got from another used car from Australia that we're gonna integrate into this car to get it fixed. So there's a lot of work to do on this. After that, we're gonna paint the whole car because obviously it needs it. It was a long time coming to get this car fixed up, so customer's gonna be happy we got the part. So let me go show you that.
3 days later.
It's a little update on the Skyline. We did a quarter panel pull on this thing. My guy got a little excited over the weekend and did quite a bit of work. As you can see, he pretty much did the pull here and got the door aligned. And after he did the pull, this panel was so pushed in that we needed to get access inside the inner structure to pull. Even though we're going to be replacing this quarter panel because it's rusted and it's kinked up, what was cool is that the roof kink, where is it? It's gone. After pulling this out, the roof skin kind of went back into place, and this piece that was really bad, it pretty much caved in after we did a pull, but we wanted to pull the inner structure. Any metal that's attached, which is like the trunk, quarter panel, all this, even though we're going to replace it, it went back in its place. So now that we have the pull completed, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys the quarter panel that we got from Australia for this car. We haven't opened it yet, so I'm curious to see how it looks like and what condition. We try to get the best one because these are notorious for getting rusted. We picked the best one, so let me go bring it in and show you guys. Big shout out to Grand Auto Wrecking in Australia. Even though you guys took a while, didn't believe me, you're so adamant about the payment. I was like, dude, you're getting real money, all right? But regardless, it took us like 6 months to get this thing, so I'm really excited to open this thing up. So let's open it up. It's the wrong one. Just kidding, it's the right one. don't know if it was the pictures we got or if it just miraculously started rusting on the boat over here. But this was the cleanest one we can get, guys. As you can see, there's some rust on the channel, some rust up here on the quarter glass. But where this one's totally rusted out on the other one, but this one's solid right here. So that's what we want. We can deal with a little bit of rust and fixing up here, but I mean this one it's completely caved in. Two, I mean that's pretty rusted out. Even though you're like, whoa, you know, this one's bad, that's all we got to work with. It's not like we can get brand new parts, and it's cool because it has all the inner structure. Oscar, I know that's some rust.
We waited all this time and this thing's just as bad as the other one.
But I think it rusted over the, because in the picture it didn't look that rusted. Maybe on the boat ride it rusted, but no, that's pretty bad.
Years of abuse.
But what would you rather have? All that rust, or we could deal with this.
Yeah.
You know, this is something we can deal with, fixed up a little bit. But I mean, the other one's completely rusted down.
Yeah.
So this one's bad.
At least, I mean, this one I would give it about a 4 out of 10. Definitely not what we were expecting, but
we'll dollar up.
This is what we have to work with. We gotta do what we gotta do with what we have. So at least it's here. The inner structure seems to be okay.
Yeah,
that's what's really important, you know.
We'll start tearing this thing up, unskin it, and then we'll go to town on this thing. Alright guys, so the quarter panel is held down by a bunch of spot welds. So we have to find them and drill them out. So as you can see here, you can see all the rust. We're slowly taking them off. There's some up here. There's some right along this channel. I went ahead and took the trunk off as well. I'm going to show you guys. Once you kind of grind it down, you'll see the little points here. I marked them. I'm going to go ahead and drill them out. Once those are drilled out, then you can commence to go under the sheet metal and kind of pound the quarter panel off. Alright, as you can see, we cut all the spot welds that come with the original quarter panel. So you can see there's a bunch of them in there. You can't really see them because they get like covered up with like weld them and then they grind it and put maybe some filler. So you don't get to see them. But I mean, this thing's really bad. It's almost off. Look at this thing. It's pretty much almost off. So the only thing we have to do is, it's so rusted at the bottom of this thing that there's no real reason why we're just gonna cut the bottom of this quarter down and get into this jam. So you can see this is the original spot where they go. When we cut the bottom of that, get to this, all the spot welds are off on this piece as well. So it's pretty much ready to come out. And what we want to do is take this off so we can expose the inner structure of the car, so we can do an additional pull to the structure before we take the inner structure off and that quarter panel. So we're almost there, guys. Alright guys, we did the final cut at the bottom of the quarter. This thing's ready to come off. Take this thing off and find out what other hidden damages it might have. Alright, so there's the old quarter panel, which has seen its better days. And look at how rusty this thing is. So, exposing the rest of the inner structure. I mean, this thing's gone. It's just so rusty. Look at that. Look at that. Look at all that. But for real, look at the rocker. So we're gonna have to maybe do a little bit of work there and kind of fix all that. Well, actually, no, because we have a new quarter panel over there that's in great shape. What am I talking about? We're actually going to be pulling this structure, because before we want to take this apart, you can see the other damage that it has. All this is still buckled. You would think, well, why? Because we want to pull this out, clamp it here, maybe pull this out, because all this structure is bent here, see? And so what's going to happen is that when we go ahead and want to weld this inner wheel well into it, everything's not going to line up. So luckily we're having a center cut here. We're going to do our pull, make sure everything lands, so then we can pretty much take it apart from this seam that's inside here, and then from there we can cut the other piece, which is the other quarter panel. But yeah, you can see it's pretty mangled right there. So Giovanni's going to do another pull. We'll wait till he gets set up to do the pull. But actually, to tell you the truth, I was expecting a lot worse shape in here, but it's pretty much all the areas where the pinch welds are, and maybe from salt water or whatever getting into these areas, rusting everything out. On to the next phase.
Alright guys, so we got the full quarter panel off. We're into the inner structure. There is a significant amount of rust. This whole lower rail is completely gone. Now that is what the quarter panel actually sits into, gets welded on to. And this rear tail lamp pocket is a combination of damage and rusted out. We also have some damage on the inner structure here. It's completely rusted out. And it has also, the inner wheel structure has completely started to separate from probably the accident. So we're either going to transfer this whole wheelhouse onto this inner structure, or we may change out the whole inner structure. There's buckles in the inner structure. There's just a lot to do here. So that's why this repair is probably going to be very, very expensive. Along with having to paint the roof, blend to the other quarter, blend this door. So it's just, the more time equals more money. But here we are already into this repair, so it's gonna need a lot of work.
Alright, so this thing is ready to come out to expose the inner wheel well. I have to do the final cut right here. This thing should come out, so let's do it. Alright, so this exposes the inner structure of the Skyline. You can see the buckles here and here, so we're going to be able to clamp with the machine here to kind of pull this out to where it's supposed to be, even the bottom of the floor here. And then from there, we'll be able to get this off so we can transfer the new quarter panel that we have over there into this unit. But everything's ready to go. We went ahead and braced it here to get this thing clamped up so we can do another pull. Alright guys, so we have the frame machine and the clamp set up right in this spot. We're trying to pull this kink out of this just to kind of get it. It's very little. It's going to pull this, this, and this, because as I've been showing you guys, that's kind of kinked in as well. So we're trying to kind of get this out enough so then we can start tearing that down so we can try to start fitting the pieces on here.
All right, guys, so now that pretty much we are really in this thing, seeing exactly what we got going on, clean up some of these edges, put some weld-through primer on them. Not here though, this is gonna have to get replaced. We went ahead and pulled some of the inner structure out and also pulled some of this rear seat panel out as well. Now we have some rust here, so this whole inner channel is gonna have to get replaced. Luckily we have the whole piece, so we're gonna be able to pick and choose what we can use. Also, we will have to fabricate some of the pieces to make it work. But luckily this rear body panel is still pretty much intact, so it will be usable. Today our goal is to separate at least the quarter panel to go ahead and transfer it onto the side. But as you guys saw earlier, we're grinding it and there's definitely some rust. So these cars just rust, you know. I don't know if it's just how they're built or where they're at in Japan or Australia. Regardless, we're getting pretty close. There's a lot of rust, just so you know. So not only is this a collision, but it's also a restoration.
Chilango already stripped the quarter panel off, the Australian quarter panel. You can see there's quite a bit of rust. He kind of dug it out. We're gonna have to repair it. It is what it is, but at least it's pretty solid, or it is solid. That's what we want down here. Here's all the inner structure. We got all that filled up. He's went ahead and drilling out the spot welds on this thing, so we can take this off to transfer it to that piece. So,
all right, currently tack welding all the inner structure. I have this for now, just some self taps holding it in place. Once we start, you know, welding it, we'll go ahead and start removing them, so on and so forth, till everything is nice and structured sound, bonded, seam sealed, and then we can move on to the next bit. Now this is the inner channel from other section that we got from the other Skyline. It has a little bit of surface rust, but nothing crazy. We're gonna go ahead and sand it down, clean it up, put some Port 15 on it, except for on the ends. We got weld through primer, everything. So we're getting really close to go ahead and weld this. Now this is that new channel that we welded in. Went ahead and repaired that. We also did some repairs to the inside of the wheel well and the inner structure.
alright guys, so now that we have everything, the panel all aligned, make sure everything fit, we could go ahead and weld that inner structure of the quarter panel to the body, which we're doing now. We're kind of fitting all the pieces. We already welded the inner. I'm going to finish welding compartment that goes on top of the quarter panel that kind of structurally gets everything solid. What you want to do too is use some weld through primer. That's that kind of like that copper looking paint that you use, so when you weld there's still some sort of protection or corrosion protection when you weld. I'm going to set up, get the miller ready to weld, and get some holes welded up. Alright guys, so the time has come to get the quarter panel welded. We got everything fitted. Alright guys, so that concludes the welding on the R33 quarter panel. It's far from being done, but we still had to do some body work, some patch panels on it, and obviously the full body work on this thing. But I mean, a lot of people wouldn't have fixed this, but you know, we can. And we did. We had to get the parts from Australia. It took a while, but the next installment of the video, we're going to be doing the bodywork, getting it ready for paint. We'll do that on the next one, but I just want to thank you guys for your support. continue watching. And here at SOS Customs, you know what? Got you covered. Peace.